Hey everybody, welcome to our live today, our SBA Live Service-Based Aftercare. Again, I'm Nikki. I'm really happy to be here again this week. If you're tuning in brand new, I'm the Director of Operations, Account Management at Full Circle Aftercare. I've been there for about 5 years and absolutely love my job and the way we can help families. Today, we're going to be talking about innovation in the funeral industry, and we have a very, very interesting guest with us. And this is Jose, and he is with Mortrack. So you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Nikki. Thank you for having me on the show today. I'm really looking forward to this. Excuse me. My name's Jose de los Santos, and I'm with Mortrack. We provide software to help track decedents from pickup to delivery, and I'm sure we'll get into more of that, but just a little bit on I don't know. Moretrack's been around. We brought this to market in 2021, and I'm excited to be here today to talk to you guys about it. Yes.
Awesome. So because I know a little bit about you, I'm going to pry for just 1 minute before we get into all the details. And I'm going to say, how did you end up in the funeral industry? Because I know you were tracking other kinds of things first.
Yes. So how we ended up, so the name of our company is actually Care and Stack Software. Moretrack is one of the products that we offer. We've been doing track and trace since 2010, anything from fruits and vegetables for farmers and producers. And then, I always say screws and bolts to rocket ship parts. In 2020, we had looked at talk to removal companies about tracking decedents and stuff, and then really looking into the market and finding out that there wasn't really anything out there. There was a lot of great softwares for the funeral home industry, for inside the house and stuff, but there really wasn't anything for that front end piece on that removal side. And then also with removal companies, there wasn't really any software out there for removal companies specifically designed for them. And so we started to do our homework, meeting with removal companies, talking to them, and that's how we got into the funeral space. And it's been great. And now we do things for funeral homes and removal companies, crematories. We try to fill in the gaps where the other ones, maybe don't do those types of features.
Awesome. Thank you for explaining that. I think it's intriguing to me where we all come from when we end up inside of the funeral industry together.
Yes.
We all come from very different walks of life and places, and we all have different reasons for doing what we do. So
yeah, I will tell you that is one of the questions that, when we're at shows, I yes, how'd you get into the funeral industry? How'd you get into the funeral industry? Because they ask me the same thing all the time. And so it is an interesting path that people take that's not generational, I should say.
Yes, that's a good thing to point out, because the funeral home industry itself is very generational.
Yes.
Our company is not generational either. So we kind of both fit in that innovative side of things. You guys are more the technology innovative in what you're doing. And Full Circle Aftercare has been bringing a product that is innovative, because nobody else really does what we do with live people.
Yes.
So yeah, no, that's perfect. So let's talk about the death industry. Yeah, families' needs evolve, and we see this every year. The funeral home and hospice technologies also have to evolve. So what do you think? I mean, why is innovation so important? I think we have to keep up. I mean, with technology for one.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Nikki. I think, you got to think that, my generation, not going to age myself here, but my generation, we were the last generation to not know what a cell phone, when we grew up without cell phones, we didn't have tablets and
we're about the same age.
Yeah, about the same, okay. We didn't have those things. I think my daughter, when she was 3 or 4, had her iPad and all that stuff. But when you look at the generations, and especially this next generation that's going to come in, they're so used to technology. Yes, technology is great, and it makes things, simplified. But I think with this next generation coming is these are things they're looking for. I'll tell you a little history on, like, when mobile phones first came out, a salesperson went around to people's offices and they were trying to sell them a mobile phone, and the whole thing of it fit in the trunk of the car. Now you have people that are lining up outside Apple stores days in advance to get the newest phone. So when you look at that, you look at the innovation is just all around us, and that's why we got to keep up with it because it's changing all the time.
It is, and it's hard when change is hard. So I even, because I manage all our accounts here, I still have funeral homes who are on paper systems. They
Yes.
haven't even embraced the technology yet. And it's always amazing to me because I think the demographic is different right now. There's all these baby boomers that are ruling the business industries. And a lot of them are tech savvy, but many of them just are not.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're the ones burying their parents right now, and they're starting to pass away. So
Yes.
it's intriguing to see how it all evolves. I'm just going to go over some little stats here just because I think they're good information to have. It's kind of like behind the scenes running a funeral home and the whole industry itself. Well-operated funeral homes don't only play a role in their communities, but they also play a role in the economy. So U.S. funeral industry is expected to experience a $28 billion increase by 2025. And this is the baby boomer generation that's starting. It's the biggest one. So
Yeah.
yeah, and despite the hot debate we always have between cremation and burials in today's society, it's not going to ever disappear. Like there's always going to be people who want services. From 2010 to 2020, the US population increased by 7%, which doesn't sound a lot, but that means 20 million more people.
Yeah.
So we have to be ready for that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
guarantee. It's a guarantee it's going to happen.
Yes. So
Yeah.
now I'm going to let you take the stage and tell me how Moretrack works with funeral homes, because I think most people, if they're not involved on a day-to-day part of a funeral home, they don't understand what you do and why it's important.
Yeah, I can do that. One thing you'll see there on the screen is the ISO compliant. And I knew that was going to come up. So I wrote the definition down. So if anybody says, what does ISO mean? So the ISO is a globally recognized standard for quality management. It helps organizations of all sizes and sectors to improve their performance, meet customer expectation, and demonstrate their commitment to quality. And so that is one thing that we take pride in is our software. So getting those certifications and things like that is very important to us. So where Mortrack comes in is right now there's, the hot topic out there would be the digital chain of custody or just strictly chain of custody. You hear all the different stories. We just had one here. I'm based out of Colorado, and we just had one here recently that probably everybody on this call has heard of or heard about, with the funeral home down south that, they just had all these bodies there. And that's one thing that it's unfortunate that it happens. And so that's where Mortrack comes in. There's still a human factor in there, but we try to put in those safeguards with those funeral homes. So such as our digital time stamping, we have a mobile app. So when those calls come in from the removal side, and just let you know, we work with small funeral homes, we work with crematories, we work with larger funeral homes, we work with small to large removal companies. So we have different features in there. And that's one thing that's great about Moretrack is because of the options that we have in there, people can kind of pick and choose to customize it to what their needs are. And
that's really amazing. And I did hear about that funeral home that you were referring to.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Since I've been in this business, I've heard that more times than I thought I would.
Yeah, when we first got into the funeral industry, doing our research and stuff, people would tell us stories, and I would sit back and say, "No way did that happen." I'm like, "No." Then I start to talk to more people, like, "Oh yeah," and they start telling me all these different stories. And so that's one thing that, in the back of my mind, I'm just thinking, man, if they would have had Moretrack, then that safeguard would have been in place. That person would not have been cremated on accident or, things like that. They're out there. Another thing too to look at is we live in a sue happy environment. And I always tell everybody, like, listen, if I can help prevent one lawsuit, then that's a great day, And we've had situations where I've had clients that have been in situations where there's been litigation over a body, but because of Moretrack, they can turn over our reports. All the forms are digital time stamped, everything. They're free and clear. Because I had one client tell me about it. I'm not going to get in a lot of details, but basically he said, Jose, he said, I just turned over my documentation from Mortrack. They said, hey, you guys are free and clear, and they could move on with their day-to-day business and not get tied up in all that stuff.
That's amazing, because
yeah,
the lawsuits, and I've known of some firms that faced lawsuits for cremating when they shouldn't have, or, I mean, there's all the reasons, but that is amazing to be able to support them in that way.
Yeah, it made me feel good. Unfortunate that he was going through that, but it made me feel good. Like, hey, we really helped somebody out today, and also giving a family peace of mind too. That's a big part of our program too, where clients can say, hey, just to give you a little peace of mind, this is what we utilize to take care of your loved one and things like that. We've had situations also where, because we collect personal effects, and on our mobile app, when they get a case assigned to them, it's going to have all the case information in there. The employees that, let's say, are doing the removals, or they're moving around the funeral home or moving around the crematory, they have all those at their fingertips. We've heard from our clients too, because of lost jewelry, or a family will claim that there's, they had this. Well, then they go back and they look, and everything's time-stamped. They selected what was there. And some of our clients even take pictures, and they store them in the case information, and they could go back to the family and say, hey, here's the pictures we have of any jewelry that was on your loved one or that was with your loved one when we received them. I'm sorry, we didn't have any of that. And so, that's another thing too, is safeguarding from these situations where people will, maybe they're mistaken, somebody else took it. I don't want to say that they're, making it up, but just to show, hey, the funeral home did not have that at any time.
Yeah, well, and not only does that protect from any issues with the family, but I mean, we can't always predict if our employees are going to be, upstanding. Most of the time, they're wonderful individuals, but every once in a while, there's something that we have to protect our own firms from as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And there was, when you look at Mortrack, so how the whole thing works is when those cases come in, the funeral home or whoever may be taking that call, they can put that information in, then they can assign it to their removal tech. Their removal tech will get a notification on their phone or tablet, hey, you have an assigned case. They can go in there, they can accept that case. And then they just, once they get to the facility, and we're time stamping through all this. So when they accept it, when they start their journey, when they're on site, when they're verifying identification, when they're collecting personal effects, these are all things that we're time stamping in there through that process. And then they just go through the process. But one of our newest features that we released at the end of third quarter last year is exciting for me, is our internal location tracking. So that some facilities don't have the internal location tracking. So now they can label each of their locations throughout their facility. And each time that decedent is moved, they open up their app, they'll scan a wristband with a QR code, and they'll move that decedent through the process. And we're time stamping each time, or how long they've been in the facility, how long they've been in this location. They go through the process. And we're also eliminating the phone calls. Hey, where are you at with this case? Where are you at with this case? Now they can just log in and they see everything right there on that case, and they can see the status of it.
So question, and when you say they, do you mean the funeral home can look or the families can see?
The funeral home can look.
Yeah.
Yes, the funeral home. We do have it's a QR code that the family can scan at removal time. And it doesn't give specific details because we understand the business and, but it just says, hey, basically, we've received, we've been assigned to this case. We received your loved one. They're now in our care. And then they can share that link with other family members. But like I said, it doesn't go into the total detail. It's just giving them that peace of mind. Hey, I know my loved ones being taken care of by X.
That is so awesome, because I hear stories on my end, because we also work with hospices, not just funeral homes. But I have stories where we get a family on the phone a couple of days after their loved one has passed, and they share with us they don't know where their loved one even went. Like, they're not certain. Maybe they didn't see the hospice forms that were filled out in the beginning that listed where they needed to go, or maybe nothing was chosen, and so they just, nearest place. It's heartbreaking when families are upset about that.
Yeah. And I think, one thing you said is, at the end of the day, I mean, it's a stressful time for everybody. It's a stressful time for the family. Everybody involved. It's and just to give them that little piece of mind, saying, hey, I know grandma or grandpa is in the care of this facility, that goes a long way. So nobody's wondering. And like I said, the thing about ours too is they can share it with family members too, share that link, and then everybody can see that their grandma or grandpa, loved ones, taken care of.
That's really, really amazing. Yeah. I think I personally, and you and I have known each other, we've seen each other for years at conventions, right? Yeah. And you have your awesome jacket on all the time, which is so fun. But I wasn't even aware of the differences of your software and how it compares, to other softwares. So we can talk about Osiris, which is a funeral home software that we partner with, and they'll run reports for our clients that use us. But you guys also do, and do you with anyone else?
Right now, Osiris is our first integration. We love Osiris. We love, Chris and Kara, Sean, Tristan, Ben. We love all of them. They're great. They're great to work with. Right now, we just finished our integration with them. We have some beta testers out there that are using it, and it's going great. And so how we're working with them is, they handle, a lot of the accounting and that stuff on the inside of the house. But, our software will handle the transportation piece, the internal locations piece, when a client comes in and they say, hey, we need to go pick up this case, and then they put the information into Mortrack. They put that in, and then we set triggers in there. So when it's supposed to push back to Osiris, and then it just keeps Osiris updated. So it could be, hey, with our app, they can edit case information. So let's say somehow, some way, the information was just a little bit off. Well, we can update that. And then if Osiris didn't have that information, it's going to sync right back to them. So yeah, we're, when we got into this business, we never looked at, becoming a competitor to those bigger companies, because we track stuff. We do a great job at that. And we know, I tell everybody, we know where we're good at. We want to partner with other people that are good in those areas. And I'm super excited about this Osiris integration. And I look to integrate with others, down the road, depending on what they do and things like that. So really, that's how we work together. We share information, but then it all falls under, that Osiris, and they can see everything that happened to that case throughout the process.
That's amazing. So my next question would be, so for firms who don't use Osiris and have already used you for years, is it a separate app? Is it a separate login? Like how does that work for them?
No, it's the same app. It's the same login. Our systems will talk in the background. Those are things that we'll look at. We're still in the, like I said, we're in the beta phase, and it's going great. And I think that's something that we'll look at if down the road is having the one. I can't really speak to a whole lot to that right now, but right now it's, they're using the same app as everybody else. It's just that we are linked to Osiris, their Osiris account, and then we push information back.
That's
Like I said,
amazing.
they get all the same features and benefits of Moretrack that anybody else would get that's coming to us.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
I'm full of questions. So did you guys ever work with like medical examiner offices or is it just through like the companies that do the pickups?
No, we can work with medical examiners' offices. To give you a perfect example, I have a client out in North Carolina. She has a removal location, and she has a location in North Carolina and a location in Florida. And she has the contract on the ME office down there in Florida. And so, a great thing about Moretrack is that ME office, they have access. Now, they don't have access to everything that the client has, but they do have access where they could go in, put the case information in, and then it sends an alert to the owner of the company, hey, you need to assign a removal tech for this case. And then she can get on her phone right there and she can assign somebody down in Florida. And then they get it to their phone, they accept it, they go do the thing. And then at the end of it, we have a lot of different forms in our software. We can also customize if a client has certain forms that they have to use. And then once that case is released, those forms are emailed automatically to whomever the client designates those forms to go to.
Oh,
And
that's
so,
nice.
yeah, so she's in North Carolina. The ME office is in Florida, and it works great. They go in there, put the case in. And that's really what, when you customize these things and, with the forms and stuff, there's a lot of time saved because I could go on for a long time. So just, but with the forms, there's time saved automatically because your removal team or your maybe in-house crematory team, they don't have to sit there and fill out all these forms. I had one client tell me after a week of using Mortrack, he said, Jose, he goes, you just saved me 30 minutes per case.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I was
I
like, wow.
understand this.
Yeah, I was like, wow, 30 minutes. I'm like, yeah. He goes, yeah, my guys don't have to sit out there and fill out, duplicate paperwork on all this.
Mhm.
He's like, it's done. As soon as they hit release, their email, they can go on to their next case, or they can get back to the funeral home and, do whatever it needs to be taken care of there.
Yeah, no, that's really, really amazing.
Yeah. And a
Yeah.
couple other things, a couple other things on the forums is, training new employees. I've talked to quite a few of our clients and they say, we don't have to train our employees on all these forms anymore because Moretrack does it in the background for us.
Oh, that's awesome. So it
Yeah.
auto-populates and they just know what forms they need.
Yep. It auto populates based on that
Wow.
client. So, when the client says, hey, I need these certain forms, those forms are built and they're assigned to that client in Moretrack. So when they go out, they follow the app right along with the little buttons and toggles, and they go through and select. And really, so the training now comes down to all we have to do as Moretrack. We have a great onboarding team that trains and walks through everybody step by step on how to do how to use the application. So we train them. So we just trained their new employees on basically how to fill out forms, but it's all done in the background. So
That
saves a
is
lot of time.
yes, that is really
Yeah.
amazing. And I personally have done a lot of research into the funeral rule, the FTC guidelines
Yeah.
about how funeral homes have to be compliant. And I can hear when you're telling me all of that just removes a level of mistakes that could be made
Oh
that
yeah.
the funeral home could be held liable for. And that's really amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, we try to take the thought process out as much as we possibly can because, we do know everybody gets busy and they grab forms and it might be the wrong form. I've heard that before. I've heard all kinds of different stories, but I've heard that before too, is they say this is great because now, we're not filling out the wrong forms. We're not giving the wrong forms to somebody, things like that. We do all that on our setup side with the client. Hey, here's the forms. You pick and choose what you want. And then, who are they supposed to go to, when the case is released or the case is moved internally. And we'll handle that for you in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's huge. That's huge. And I can
Yeah.
hear why any funeral home out there is going to hear that and be, oh, say that again. Like I need to know more
Yeah.
about this.
Yeah. I've even had some say, "Oh, you're a lifesaver because now I don't have to translate handwriting."
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we still get some handwritten stuff sent to us, and
Oh,
sometimes it
yeah.
can be a chore.
Yeah, I tell everybody, I'm the same way. I have some chicken scratch here, and I can read it, but some other people might not be able to. So I
Yes.
definitely understand. What they say is, I could only imagine getting paperwork from multiple employees, and then trying to put all that together. For a report where we save data entry. Another thing is we just added a custom report feature, and so they can go in and they can pick and choose from the information we collect. They can pick and choose those fields and create their own custom reports. So if anybody was doing, paper collection and then manually going over it and turning it into a spreadsheet, or whatever that may be for whatever type of system they're using, we have reports now that they can export. And we had canned reports in the beginning, but based on so much of Moretrack today, I can truly say that this app was built by the field for the field,
That's
because
amazing.
yeah, it was, we had the basis in the beginning, but because of our client feedback and us, I will say this to everybody: I can't promise everything, but I can promise a conversation. And so we take their feedback very seriously. And then once that feedback comes in, we look at it and say, okay, can we do this? Can we add this? And our app has changed dramatically over the last 3 years to provide more features, more benefits, and reporting was one of them. They liked our canned reports, but they always wanted something a little bit more, and so
Mhm.
we filled that demand. At the end, in the third quarter last year, with internal locations and reporting, where they can just customize what they need. Here's all the information we have. You guys use it how you want. It's your information.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's really awesome.
yeah,
And that's another thing our companies have in common is we're all about customizing the
yeah,
process for the families. That's what we do. It's why we have people instead of just a software, because when we're dealing with grieving families and their estates, it's tough, and they don't want to just look at a software and decide what they need to do when they're the family who is
yeah,
grieving. But on the
yeah.
funeral home side, it's quite the opposite. They want to be able to get in there and work everything through and get all the forms. Yeah, no, that's amazing.
And I will tell you, there's another feature that we added. We've had this really since the beginning, but on that QR code that you can leave for the family, down at the bottom, they can add 3 URLs in there. And so on my demo, I have Full Circle Aftercare, obviously.
Oh,
Yeah. Um, and because we work with you guys, have Osiris in there, and then we have another vendor that does custom jewelry, things like that,
yeah,
just to show
memorial
people.
products.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just to show people, hey, not only can you leave this with the family to give them peace of mind that their loved one is in care, but here's a couple resources also. So for those families that don't know, because I will be honest with you, when I first met Matthew in 21, I had no clue about all the things that Full Circle Aftercare. So my boss and we actually sat in on one of his seminars early on,
oh, nice.
and I will tell you, I came home after that and I told my wife, I said, if I die, I said, call 911 first, then call Matthew in Utah at Full Circle Aftercare. He'll handle it. Yeah.
And he will too. He'll be like, we are on it.
Yeah. And I was like, there was so much information he threw. I was like, I didn't have a clue about half of that stuff. So I think providing those, because I try to look at things try to look at everything from the customer's perspective.
Yeah,
And so I think of myself as a customer. So what would I do with this? And I looked at it as, there's so many families that they just don't know because they're not in it like we are every day. So
yeah,
if we can just give them a little more of a resource, then they can click on there. They know who to contact and things like that. And like I said, the funeral homes, the crematories, removal companies, whoever owns the account, they can pick and choose who they want to put in there.
that's awesome that they can customize it.
Yeah.
That's Very awesome.
Yeah, I think it's just another benefit that that they're doing for their clients in that time of need.
Yes. And
Yeah.
it really is true that if you haven't been through it before, you really don't know what you don't know.
No,
I mean,
no.
and a lot of times we're trying to help families and it's tough right after a funeral, the grief can be so heavy and overwhelming and they will decline our help even though it's included in our funeral home service
Yeah.
and we always send something out to them. It's like in case you change your mind because
Yeah.
sometimes it takes just a little bit of time for them to start digging in all by themselves and realize that they really need more resources
Yeah,
and they'll
absolutely.
call us back.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things is they just don't know.
Yeah.
They just
Yeah.
don't know what's out there and what's available to them. And
True.
that's, and I'll say once again, thank you for having me on your show today because, we're still pretty new. We've been in the industry now 4 years, but we're still pretty new, especially with technology coming into, an old industry.
Mhm.
We've always done it this way. We do it that way. We don't need anything and things like that.
Yes.
Well, we're new technology coming in. It's going to be the next generation. Eventually nobody's going to do paper anymore. Everybody's just going to get rid of paper. And,
True.
maybe not 100%, but it's going to get very minimal.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, I think it's just, bringing awareness not only to families of things that are out there, but I think bringing awareness to funeral homes, crematories, places that don't know, hey, what tools are out there? Moretrack,
Mhm.
we are a tool. We're a tool to help them with their business, to help them grow their business. They'll put processes and procedures in. That was one
Mhm.
thing that we found early on is when I was talking to people, I say basically, what processes and procedures do you have in place? Well, there really weren't a whole lot of, we do it this way because we've always done it this way.
Yes, I've
Because
heard that so
I would
many
ask,
times.
I'm sure you've heard it a million times,
Mhm.
and that's one thing is like, I'd say, why do you do it that way? Well, that's the way we've always done it. Oh, okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, if I can show you something like Moretrack becomes your process and your procedure. They
Yeah.
just have to follow these steps and it's done. And also, with that being said, everybody's doing the same thing. It's uniform. There's,
Yes, and that's
yeah,
so important. The
yeah,
consistency is so important.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love your quote that you had up there.
Oh, let me go back.
Yeah, innovation is the ability to see change as an opportunity, not a threat. Yeah, that's, um, you know, it's scary. Change is always scary for everybody, but if you want to grow or you just want to get things systemized,
Yes.
technology innovation is the answer to it.
Yes, and putting together standard procedures and practices is actually a really overwhelming task if you've never done it before.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah.
really easy to put it off. It's really easy to say, I'll do it later, and then never, ever, ever get around to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I see that more often than anything else. So,
Yeah. I agree with you 100%.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. But I too love this comment. I mean, the quote, like,
Yeah.
not a threat. We all have to
No.
change and we all have to evolve.
Yeah. Nobody likes change, but once you get through that and then you see the simplicity and what change has done, then it's just getting over that hurdle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to open it up for some questions. So we'll
Okay.
see if any questions roll in.
Sure.
I think that talking to you about your product has opened my mind to a whole nother idea of things that go on behind the scenes that I probably never considered before.
Yeah.
And I think that anyone else is probably going to think that too once they think, oh, we just pick up a body and it goes to the funeral home. And there's so much more to it than that.
Oh yeah, there's so much more to that. I think some of them, yeah, that's it. But other ones, they're a little more complex. They have to go here first, and then they have to be, whatever's done there, and then they may go somewhere else, and then finally they get to the funeral home. But there's a lot of different steps in there, depending on the business and who the decedent was.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I've got one comment. Do you always wear that jacket during interviews?
I wore the jacket today, so I can give everybody a little. So this jacket, I tell everybody I actually owned this jacket prior to us rolling out Mortrack. This was a jacket that my wife got one year. We were going to do some Thanksgiving photos, and so I had this jacket and for some Thanksgiving photos, and then it was early 23. We were going to the Ohio Funeral Director show, and I told one of my coworkers, I said, "Hey, I'm going to wear this orange jacket because it matches our Mortrack colors." And my wife said, "You are not going to wear that to a convention, are you?" And I said, "Oh, yes, I am." And I wore it one day. The next day, I didn't wear it. People were coming up to me saying, "Hey, where's your orange jacket? Where's your orange jacket?" So it was such a hit in Ohio. We ended up getting a couple more for the team, and now it's become the Mortrack jacket. And I've even had people at shows, they'll see us from across the room, and he'll say, "I knew Mortrack was going to be here. I saw your jacket from across the room." And so, yeah. And so, so that's why I had to wear it today for the show, because I wanted everybody to know, if you see this jacket at any of the upcoming conventions, it's Mortrack. Please come by, talk to us, find out more. You can see a demo of our software and see if it may be a fit for your organization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got another question. How many, what are the shows coming up you're going to be at?
So we are going to be, we're going to be in Texas here in a couple weeks.
So will we.
Then we have Illinois. We'll be in Illinois up. I can't remember where that one's at. And then we have an FDA.
Mm-hmm. I'll be at that one.
Then we have Cana. We'll be at Cana.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, those are the ones that are on top of my head. We'll do NFDA, Cana, ICCFA. There is a new association called the International Mortuary Removal Tech Association that we're a part of. And they rolled out last year, the very first year for the association. So we'll end up doing their show again in Atlanta this year. It's called IMRTA. But like I said, right now, I think Chicago or Illinois Funeral Show, Cana, and we do the big ones, and then we started to do maybe on the state ones, depending on the state, we'll do every other year at some of them. There's just so many of them, and it's hard to cover all of them.
We can't cover all of them. We will go to the smaller ones sometimes, every once in a while, or we'll go to ones where Matt is invited to speak.
Yeah, I think last year we did. I want to say we did something like 13 or 14 shows last year, and we were just all over the place. And so this year we looked at, okay, now which ones do we want to move to every other year? Which ones we want to do to yearly? The big ones will be at yearly. Just for the meantime, maybe eventually down the road we'll try to cover. But so many of them overlap with each other too, and that's. I found that out. I was like, oh, we need to hit every state show. And I'm like, well, there's like 6 states showing at the exact same time.
There's a lot of overlap.
Yeah. So we'll be there. But, another thing too is, if anybody on the call is interested in seeing our product, our website is moretrack.com, MORTRACK.com. You can sign up there for a demo, no obligation. Just come, learn more about it, see it. Even if now's not the right time, at least you'll know what tools are available out there. But just let us know what we can do for you.
And if you guys are at one of the shows, you can come stop by and see us. But when you see the jackets across the room, run over and say hi to Jose, because he's a fun person to be around.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to close it up for today. Okay. But like you were just saying, if anybody has questions, anybody want the demo, if you guys have questions about Full Circle Aftercare, we are here and available many different ways to contact us. So there's our emails. And then our next live is going to be on June 6th at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. And I that one's going to be about estate planning. So we're going to give a high level view of the things that absolutely need to get done to give your family some peace of mind and get rid of some headache. So, yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Jose, so much for being here. It's been wonderful, and I really appreciate it.
Nikki, I thank you very much for having me on the show.
Thank you.
And another thing too is, this is, what you guys are doing here with your show, your podcast, and everything. I think it's great because I think it really is, an education, and for people to know, hey, what's available to us out there. So I applaud you guys for putting this together, and I think it's wonderful. And please let us know if we can do anything in the future to help you guys out.
We will. We will. Okay. And thank you for the compliments. We are all about helping everybody learn all the things they don't know.
Well, exactly. As we're still learning, things out there too.
Yeah. Yes, every day.
Yeah, every day. Every day is a new day.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Jose. And thank you, everyone, for coming. And tune in on the 6th. We'll see you then.
Sounds great. Thank you, Nikki. Have a great afternoon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.